What's up? We are back for another episode of Shifts and Giggles, and I am super excited to swing into these deep dive episodes. We have walked through the simple shift method, and I'm super pumped to give you guys more tools, both internal and external, I'm excited to give you guys more tools, both internal and external, for your journey ahead. Today, we are talking about emotional intelligence. And the reason we are talking about emotional intelligence is because overall, we as human beings don't do a good job of being in touch with our emotions, as people would say. And I think that is because a lot of people think that emotions, or a lot of people think being in touch with your emotions makes you soft or makes you, less than, or, we kind of give a bad label to people who are emotional. But it is not that. Emotions are not soft. Emotional intelligence is a skill that can be learned and should be worked and challenged and built. And so that's what we're going to do today, because emotional intelligence impacts every single thing that you do, your relationships, your decision making, your ability to grow. All of it is impacted by your emotional intelligence. So when Jenny and I got married, I was very emotionally immature. And there was a thing that I would do, and I did not realize this until we were probably married 8 years at this point, 8.5 years. Anyway, I was working with a therapist because I kept running into this issue of not being able to name my emotions. I did not know that that was the issue, but the issue was I kept being so angry. I kept finding myself angry at people close to me if I felt that they weren't listening, taking my advice. And I've talked about this before, but I went to this therapist and we're working through things. And as I'm processing and working and doing all the things, a friend of mine had said, maybe you should start researching emotion words just so you can name them. And so went to Google, and I started looking at the list of what I felt in all of these separate moments, because in all these separate moments, I thought that they were all different because the situations were different and the people were different. And what I did not realize was I was the actual common denominator. And so because I was the common denominator, I was like, okay, let's figure this out. As I am looking up emotion words, I find the word dismissed. And I find this word and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I feel. When I offer someone advice, or someone comes to me and they ask a question, not considering, or what I thought was not considering me thinking through a process, or I'm reaching out to build a better relationship and I'm not getting anything in return, or whatever it may be, it was dismissed. That's what I felt. I felt dismissed. And because I felt dismissed, I would get angry. But I would know I was angry. I would not know that I felt dismissed. But in naming this emotion, dismissal, or whatever you want to call it, being able to name it changed the trajectory of all these relationships. And so I went back and I went to a friend. Hey, I got upset with you because this, and this was happening. And I took it offensively because I thought you were dismissing me. And now I know you were not. I apologize. I was really angry. Hey, when I tried to do this and we're having these conversations, I thought you were dismissing me and you were not. And I apologize for my anger towards you. All of these people, specifically with my wife, Jenny, because I had started to name my emotions, I had noticed when we would be discussing plans or how to do something or what we're going to do this weekend, I noticed that I started to feel this anxiety. And that was the name. That was the feeling. That was the emotion. The emotion was anxiety. I started to feel anxious about the plan because I did not think that the plan was as smooth as it could be and as clear as it could be. And so I felt this anxiety. I took a breath and I said, why are you anxious? What is it that's making you anxious? And I answered the question. I feel, or I think we don't have enough time to do this thing. I don't think that the plan is well thought out. I don't think that the plan will be executed well, and it's making me anxious. Okay, well, let's talk to Jenny about it. And so I did. I brought these things up and we talked about it. And then I had another revelation. There were multiple times in my marriage where I would feel this anxiety about a situation, about something that was happening, something that was going to take place. And because I could not name the emotion, I would then turn it on to Jenny and ask her if something was wrong. Now, nothing would be wrong, and she'd be saying, no, nothing's wrong. But I would push and I would push and I would push, which was not fair, which was not okay, which was damaging, because nothing was wrong with her and because something was wrong with me, but I didn't have the tools. I kept pushing her to force her to think something was wrong with her. 8 years. Can you imagine that? I'm pastoring a church. People look at us as role models, all these things. And I am like legitimately gaslighting her into thinking something's wrong when in reality, something was wrong with me. And so when I realized this, that I've been doing this thing for so many years, I had to apologize twice. Because the first time I apologized, she did not pick up what I was saying. And I was like, I just apologized for a massive issue. There should be some tears here, you know? And so I let it sit for about a week. And then I went back and I said, hey, I have done this to you. I've put this on you for a very long time. And I am legitimately sorry. I am sincerely sorry. I did not realize the damage I was doing. I did not understand. I did not realize the damage I was doing. I did not understand the lengths at which I was just putting you through heartache and craziness and like making you feel crazy. I am so sorry. And as I began to break down the levels of what all of those things were doing to her, she finally had the emotional release that she actually needed. And since then, things have been way better because I can process my emotions, because I am aware of what I am feeling in a moment. And that moment changed our marriage for the better. And so I share that story to let you know that emotional intelligence is a vital part, not of just the journey and the life you want to live, but it is vital to every relationship and everything that you do. Further, it is not just something that you have or you don't have. It is a skill that can be learned. We'll get into that next week, but I need you to know that it is a skill that can be learned. So if you're trying to improve your life, but you keep getting stuck, you keep having arguments or miscommunication, you find yourself shutting down, walking out of the room, emotional intelligence is probably a piece that is missing in your toolbox. I was that person. I was the shutdown. I was the miscommunicator. I was the argumentative one. I was all of that. And emotional intelligence is what I was lacking. So why do we talk about this? Because at the end of the day, if you want change in your life, if you want to grow, you cannot do it if your emotions are in the way and you don't know what they are. So today we are going to, one, just define emotional intelligence and what those things are, what it looks like when you don't have emotional intelligence. And then next week we'll get into how to build it. But defining emotional intelligence, simply, it is the ability to name your emotions. It is the ability to self-regulate. It is having self-awareness. It is having empathy, social skills. All of these things define emotional intelligence. This is why parenting is so hard, and we see it all the time. You have to be able to self-regulate so you can co-regulate with your child. But if all I know is avoiding my emotions, or all I know is defensiveness or blame, then I will always place that on my kids and never properly work through my own self-regulation. I have to self-regulate. I have to be able to name what I am feeling so that I can regulate the feeling. That's what self-regulation is. That is what emotional intelligence is. It is the ability to do these things. Empathy goes a very long way. And honestly, a lot of us don't carry that because we are not emotionally intelligent. Empathy is massive. But if I can't empathize with myself and see myself for where I am, there's no way I can do that for someone else. I can do it for a moment as long as things are good when I am regulated. But if I am not regulated, there's no way I can empathize. So if emotional intelligence looks like self-regulation, self-awareness, empathy, social skills, knowing and understanding when a joke may go too far or is going too far, picking up on these things, all of these are emotional intelligence tools. All of these things are, and I absolutely love having these tools in my tool belt to live my life, not just for everyone else, but for myself. Because if I can know where I am, who I am, what I'm feeling, and why I'm feeling it, it changes the game in how I approach everyone else. Whenever I do coaching one-on-one, I like to tell people, you can only calm the storm in someone else when your storm inside of you is calm. If you always have a storm that is just constantly raging, there's no room for you to help someone else calm theirs. It's just no room. And so you have to have these tools. You have to have all of these tools to become emotionally intelligent. How do I know if I'm lacking emotional intelligence? I am reactive, I am defensive, I blame others, and I have avoidant behavior. If I avoid accountability in a situation, I have low emotional intelligence. If I am defensive or I place blame, I am lacking emotional intelligence. Think about every time that we've just reacted to something, every time that we've become defensive. And the person that's asking the question is just trying to understand where you're coming from or what you're trying to do, what your aim is. They're trying to gain understanding and clarity, and we get defensive. I get so defensive trying to just say what I'm trying to say. That's low emotional intelligence. And it's very easy to spot in children because, they are not fully developed in their brains at all. And because they aren't fully developed, we as parents have to teach them how to do that. But if I also always place blame, I am also always defensive, I am also avoiding What are they going to do? How are they going to learn? And that's how kids become adults who are lacking. And that's how kids become adults who are lacking emotional intelligence. We've all been there. Again, we shut down, we get argumentative, all of these things. We're reacting, we're going crazy, we're doing so much simply because we don't have the tools. And again, I need you to see the challenge. You need to see what's ahead of you, but you cannot do that if your emotions are constantly in the way. If you carry and operate in avoidant behavior, you won't ever be able to move forward how you want to move forward. If you cannot take ownership, if you are defensive about the choices you make, if you are reactive to things happening, if you are placing blame on other people, you cannot grow. And so we want to be able to be self-aware. We want to be able to name the emotions. We want to be able to self-regulate. We want to have as high of emotional intelligence as we can. I put this story in a book. I was doing marriage counseling with a couple, and I was talking about self-awareness and how if you can be self-aware, knowing your pitfalls, knowing what you like, knowing what the triggers are, knowing what makes you tick, why, how you react, all of these things. If you can learn emotional intelligence and build this skill in yourself, that is a massive gift that you can give your spouse. So you have to learn who you are so that you can share with them who you are, and they now can act accordingly. And the wife to be in that moment says, I don't want to be self-aware because I think that's going to make me selfish. And that is number one is an avoidant behavior, and it is a low emotional intelligence level. Because what she did not realize in that moment was that was the thing that was keeping her selfish. Avoiding herself keeps her selfish. And if you are avoiding yourself and your own pitfalls, your own emotions, your own issues, what are you going to do? You're going to react. You're going to blame. You're going to do all of these things that show that you have low emotional intelligence. And so you can do it. It is a skill that can be learned. It is a skill that can be built. And I want to encourage you to get into it. These are not soft skills. They are survival skills. Without them, you will have a bad time. Again, I was there having a bad time. And because I was having a bad time, my wife was having a bad time. I have to start building the tools using the tools and building these skills today. And that is my challenge to you. How are you going to build the skills? What area in your life are your emotions getting in the way? Are you avoidant of what you feel? Do you place blame? Do you react quickly? Do you get defensive? Do you have a hard time self-regulating? Where in your life are your emotions getting in the way? Further, do you believe that your emotional responses are helping you or hurting you? It's easy to look out at others. Or are they helping others or hurting others? Is it helping or hurting me? That's the big question. So that's all I got for you today. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening. Next week, we're going to cover part 2. Next week, we're going to cover part 2 of this, how to actually build. Today was just why it's necessary. Next week, we'll get into how to build and give you some tools to run with and change your life. If you do not want to wait till next week, please click the link in the show notes. We have real, tangible tools to help you change your life today. More than anything, I want to help you change your life. I want impact more than anything. Impact, impact, impact. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And we'll see y'all next week as we turn the page and learn how to build emotional intelligence. See y'all next week.